I think that the highest ROI I've been able to generate has, as you mentioned, just focusing on the exact same thing over and over and over again for a very long period of time. We don't have any constraint or focus, and that's why so many people get lost in the sauce, I think, doing this sort of shit all the time.
If you want a product to have adoption, you have to play ball with the AI creator economy. They pretty much drive purchasing decisions. I mean, like, actually, let me ask this question. When was the last time you purchased any AI-related product that you didn't hear from an AI creator somewhere? What are we talking about today? We're talking about game, right? AI game with dating.
Yeah, man. So, back in the day, if I was texting, I don't know, while I was dating, some people, they flake on you, right? So you got to follow up, right? The money's in the follow up, as you know, Jack.
Absolutely.
So I'd always send cutesy little things. I'd be like, sending a search party because I haven't seen a cute girl recently or something. Anyway, my buddy, Mark, who also runs a YouTube channel, by the way, really cool guy, he sent me a ChatGPT 4.0 generated like follow up, and it was just like a picture of him and then me in like Studio Ghibli anime format. And he's like, "Are we ever gonna hang out?" And then it was my character being like, "I don't know, maybe eventually." And, and it was just the cutest thing ever. And I was thinking like, "Oh my god, dude! Like today's like dating landscape could be so much better because you have tools like that."
I agree with it. I mean, like, to be fair, I think like the one-off big. I'm a big audio note guy. Like,
Yeah.
I love dropping the audio notes after a bit of time. I ramble on it. I do a 60-minute punchy story, and then I bounce. And that is a great filtering conversation because if they get the vibe, your personality and stuff. But dude, there are people that are using full AI systems. I say AI systems. They've got guys that are hiring, right? We're just sat there
Right.
like pre-filtering. Dude, every business bro I spoke to like agrees the same thing. Marketing and dating, dude, they're like this. They are the same thing. They're completely the same thing.
Just need
So yeah.
systems for your Tinder. Have you seen the little finger thing? It's like an automated robot that just does this over and over and over and over again.
Oh no, dude, I haven't seen that.
It's so
That's
funny,
savage.
man.
That's
There's like a thing
savage.
you can get on your phone. It clips onto your USB, uses your phone as power, and then just automatically
Dude,
swipes.
could you imagine like that just sat on the desk and then you're having coffee with somebody and it's just like, oh, sorry, one second, just yeah, you carry on going like that'd be brutal, bro. Absolutely savage. So, dude, dude, this is episode one of dude. Have we got a name for this thing? I think we were thinking of like Project 2030 or something. But
Would be pretty cool. Would be pretty cool. Like I want to make this long term as you do. I think that there's a lot of value in just, yeah, in framing stuff like this, not as a sprint, but as a marathon. And I think that a name that would be representative of that would be ideal. Also, a lot's going to happen over the course of the next few years, right? So
100%.
Project 2030 sounds pretty great.
I love that, dude. And I think what's really cool is we're gonna run all this stuff as we go. And what our plan? So our plan with this, guys, just setting the setup. We're gonna get a beautiful team member to create some phenomenal ideas. They're gonna share with Nick and I. We're gonna look at those ideas, think what's decent, and we're just gonna chat about what we think is super valuable. And we're gonna practice what we preach, and we're gonna be consistent. We're gonna get it out. And we're gonna have a rock and roll and good time. But dude, we've got a lot of stuff's happening actually, man. I must admit. Like, where should we kick off? Do you want to kick off with your travel escapades? Because you've been a little bit international recently, mate, haven't you? Like, should we do community and then we'll like zoom out and do like some cool business, AI, general stuff? What do you think?
Sure, that sounds great to me. Yeah, I was just chatting with Jack off the pod that travel's been really hard for
Yeah.
my business. I think and so I've set up my business in a particular way, and it's not the most ideal way, but everything depends on me for the most part, right? So it's like my brand is based off of me. It's like the community is based off of me. Everything more or less is me. So if I stop, then the business and the brand growth tends to stop. And I know, a lot of people think that that's probably kind of silly, but I see it as a trade-off. Like in business, you sort of have two paths. You could make like this faceless or like more. You could make a business that grows without you and is able to be sustained with like, let's say, a team. But you tend to grow that business slower because you're building up like equity in the business and stuff. Or you could do something that's like totally, your face all over everything, which grows really, really quickly, but then you sacrifice some of that future brand equity in exchange for that growth. So I picked the second path. Anyway, that's the context. I've been traveling a lot in the last week. I just went down to San Francisco, and I'm in this gorgeous little mountain town called Banff. And I gotta say, man, unsustainable for long-term business growth to be constantly jumping around place to place. I've come to realize that the guys that really crush it, like all the people that we hear about in the media every day, freaking Jeff Bezos. I mean, even like Elon Musk to some extent, but all these big multi-generational wealth guys, they basically just like got their little office or whatever, and then they just showed up to that office every day for like 10 years and just did the same thing.
Yeah, it's so funny you say that because you see Bezos in a yacht now, but when he started off, he had that desk door, which I think is freaking badass, dude. I freaking love that. It's funny. I mean, I had this experience. Went to Dubai. It's like weirdly, I sort of felt that there were not enough hours in the day. Like I was working till later, but seemingly
Mm.
getting less done because of like the kind of unknown admin that exists in being in a different country. I mean, I've I'm supposed to meet my family on Saturday, and I was like looking at my diary, and I was like, dude, I really don't have time for this conversation. So I'm gonna go. It's gonna be fun. I'm obviously gonna rock and roll on time, but I'm like, dude, like I really should have put it for a different. Do you know when you agree to plans? Like, yeah, that's fine. And I was looking at my to-do list, bro, and I was like, holy shiza, I have like a billion things to do. So it's tough to get the balance right, bro, isn't it? Between like personal, you travel, and the deal cracking, man. It's outrageous.
For sure. I also think it's like, where you get value out of things in life. Like I've had so much fun meeting, I mean, probably like close to I don't know, 5 or 6 dozen people over the course of the last like week and a half or so. And being in like new environments and seeing all the amazing architecture, seeing like the nature, hiking events, all this cool stuff. Honestly, it's been like quite the whirlwind. And I think that's what a lot of people think that like a successful business looks like. But I get less value out of that, let's say, than just some sort of progressive improvement. And I think that, yeah, I'm not trying to say that that is a better value system, but it does make sense that people that are more interested in progressive improvement and, get their little dopamine kicks off of that ultimately end up scaling and growing more successful businesses. So, it's just a matter of like, I guess what you want out of life and your specific season of life. And I feel like with my specific season of life, I just get a higher return on investment of just like that Jeff Bezos showing up to that little garage thing every day.
Yeah, consistency. Yeah, I did. My reflections past week that like I need to, I find you often go through periods of just like head down execution, and then you realize when you need to do a full system upgrade, when new plates and assets are added to the mix, it's like, okay, like one concept I'm a big fan of, if something breaks, it's always a system issue. Rather than anything else, it's like actually, do we have the proper functional systems in place to deliver the
Mm.
outcomes? And this was the dynamicism, right, between like goal setting. Do you know this? Like, I'm sure you're familiar with this idea of like you set systems rather than goals, right? Like if I were to
Yeah.
write 100 words a day, blah blah blah. Actually, you kind of need visibility of an end goal, like of where you're trying to get to, in order to build a system that would execute against that goal, right? And then you almost need to. I mean, like good example of this is like investment strategy. Like I had buddies that would spend like every day like on spreadsheets, like checking percentages out. I'm like, your effort's probably better spent just making more money and set the strategy you've got and do that later. But
Right.
it's like I think the system, and it's also you see a lot in businesses, right? I would rather install like two really simple high growth systems that just work and no one has to wake up on Monday and press buttons. It just kind of happens rather than trying to run around like a headless chicken every day. But when you add new things to the mix, you got to think in terms of systems, dude. So like actually I think like for us, I know we're super busy, like systematizing things like travel and good times
Mm.
is important to do. Yeah, but you got to. What I'm sort of realizing myself is that I, ca- it almost needs to be planned. I think I am. I try to escape the whole having my diary blocked out, but I don't think I can, bro. I think I actually have to have like Jack is doing this at this hour, this at this hour. I don't know how the girlfriend's going to feel about me penciling her in on certain times, but
Yeah, Saturday evening, 7:30 till 7:31. That's our time.
Jack, you check, is Jack free? We'll have to double check and just find out what's going on here, dude. We'll get it penciled in. Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned that. I wonder. I agree with you. I wonder what like a system for, I don't know, travel and just life enjoyment would look like. I do believe that you can derive significantly more fulfillment and satisfaction out of life by intentionally designing it, not just letting the chips fall where they may. So
You've
I
got
wonder
to.
what that looks like. Like how much of our mental decision making and anguish could be taken care of if we just built a system where, I don't know, like let's say end of month or something. I'm thinking the simplest system. End of month, 3 days, you go somewhere or you do something. Do you know what I mean? Like that's a super
Yeah.
simple system, but that's a system. And a system like that allows you to schedule the rest of your life and do a bunch of other things, relieve a lot of like the scheduling pains. Now it's like, well, if I'm leaving every month, the last 3 days of the month, then leading up to that, I just need to make sure that I have things in place that are done autonomously for that 3 day period. Like, I wonder what sort of systems. You want to brainstorm about that for a sec?
Yeah, let's
Like
do it.
what's an example of
What like a rough heuristic I was playing around with is like 90% order, 10% chaos.
that? Mm.
And I kind of tried to plan chaos. So to do something fun every week, something like mid-sized fun every month, and then something really fun every quarter. And then that's my
Mhm.
like mental justification for. like being able to lock in. Like if I know I've got a date night in a cool place, or I'm hanging out with my buddies, could do like some skate. I was actually skateboarding 2 days ago. But the 13-year-old in me freaking loved it, dude. It was amazing. But like having like this cool stuff that you do, it gives you like sanity. But like I think just having bigger things, like maybe a trip to LA, is what I'd love to do the next 3 or 4 months. So that would be like a kind of quarter that like you're gonna be like traveling for like 7 days, right, bro? So it's like a bit wild.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Especially coming
I
from the
can think
UK
about it
too.
like that. I think that may not be the right way to do it, but
I like that
yeah,
though. I do. Because like I have systems on a day-to-day basis. You know, I wake up and then I
dating
immediately do
systems.
X hours of work and stuff like that. But it's like one big thing that I see in business a lot of times, especially beginners, you know, that join my community, they focus on like one tiny little, they zoom really deeply into like one tiny part of their system, and they're like, oh, here's how I'm going to optimize my morning routine or something. But then they lose context if they zoom out a bit and like see what their week looks like. They don't have that down. They zoom out even more. They look at their month. So they focus more on
Yeah.
efficiency of one node in a system as opposed to effectiveness of the entire system, which is the thing we should optimize for. I like that though. Like you're talking heuristics, that's really it, right? The 80-20. I like that idea of just like having some sort of consistent order and then like slotting in some chaos as well for fun and whatnot. I feel like human beings need that, and I feel like your brain
Yeah.
also needs that time to decompress.
Because you can't run your life or business off a post-it note. And
Yeah.
I've tried it, believe me. I mean, the classic funny thing was always the case of like, if I ask you 5 times 5, you know the answer. Like you asked 17 times 926, you'd get out a calculator. Yeah, like most people run their business in their brains. Like if you'd need to figure out a simple math equation with your phone, bro, you need to write stuff down and have it like systematized. So like systems drive everything, bro. I completely agree. I think the other thing on the systems thing is actually how do you know what the unknown unknowns are? Because I think sometimes you can be really locked in. You know, when you've been looking at like something for like 3 months and you're like, dude, I've been sat with this for so long, I think I can't actually see it clearly anymore. Like you need a fresh pair of eyes to come in and assess what's going on. That's why like network and people who've got a similar mission to you is really key, because from an external perspective, they don't have any other biases. They've not spent 4 months building it. They have no cost aversion bias or sunken loss bias. They can just say, hey, well, I think it's this. And so that's why I think actually, we talk about this all the time, but like actually your friends and your buddies are really important, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like that idea of you don't know what you don't know. So you need to build in some level of, if you have your system be 100% perfect, then it's very fragile. And when something that you don't know comes into the system, it's going to break it. But if you acknowledge that ahead of time and you build some sort of redundancy into the system, or you just build some room for chaos, like you said, then when you get that, thing that you don't know introduced, then you're going to be fine. That's cool, man. I really like that. I like that idea. I mean, I know I just like totally threw that shit at the wall earlier. By the way, are we swearing on this podcast?
Well, I think we may be now, dude. Yeah, we officially are.
Well, that lasted a good 10 minutes.
30 seconds, I think, and then you're like solid, basically.
Yeah, I know. I just threw that shit at the wall a moment ago about like the last 3 days your month of free trial. But I feel like a system like that could actually work, right? You know how like you go a 9 to 5 job, you get a certain number of vacation days every year, right? And it's like you like strategically schedule the vacation days out and all that stuff. Well, it's like we don't have that.
No,
We don't have any constraint or focus, and that's why so many people get lost in the sauce. I think doing this sort of shit all the time because they don't have any sort of pre-existing system or constraints are just systems, right? So yeah, I feel like that could be a good idea. It's like how many, I don't know, calculate ahead of time like what your goals are in life, and if your goals are primarily some big revenue goal or whatever. And then if the things that you value are things like progressive improvement, just brainstorming my own systems development here, then obviously you should build, like a calendar accordingly. And then if I'm going to spend the vast majority of my life like working, like, that's fine. But I should know that ahead of time and kind of commit to that. And then I can set aside 10, 20% of that time to travel and meet new people and do stuff. All right,
I like
cool.
that.
I'm sold. I'm trying it.
Dude, one little thing I'm also playing with is the triple putt, which is like, if I'm gonna have fun, like, how can I like tick 2 other cool things off at the same time? Like, if I'm gonna go to LA for some kind of meeting, what are like the conversations, the meetups, the business stuff to make it like a win across 3 things? But all this to say, dude, I want to be a better systems engineer this year, bro. Sunday is my systems day. I'm gonna get coffee. I'm gonna lock myself with this whiteboard, bro. The colors, Nick, you're gonna see colors like these colors, man. I'm telling you, this whiteboard's gonna be so colorful and so pipe driven. I'll send you what's of it so you can see.
You've never seen colors like this before. Nobody here's ever seen colors like this
No, no,
before.
no. So people are saying the colors are phenomenal. I mean, I'm not saying that. The people are saying
But other people are.
That's just what they're telling me. Dude, okay, so we got some interesting news, dude. Shall we? Where do you want to kick off? Like, I had one I thought was quite interesting. I know
Sure. Yeah, you start.
we'll get a little bit slicker with this over time, but like we just jump in. Um, so let's go with AI model rankings, and I'll send you a little screenshot of this in the chat so you can see as well.
Sure.
But let me ask you, Brew. Language model usage, right? Like you're an entrepreneur, you're a business, individually. What are you using at the moment, language model wise?
I got to be honest, I think I've come to the conclusion that the vast majority of these language models are converging on very similar levels of quality. So it doesn't actually matter all that much which one you use, because even if you use one that's a little bit better because of some benchmark this month, next month the other models will just like shoot over it. And then it's just this game of leapfrog month to month. So like, probably the most optimal thing to do is just have 2 or 3 of like the top models in rotation and then just like kind of swap these out as necessary. You just sent that to me on WhatsApp, right?
Yeah, I just sent over. These are the rankings. Yeah, I mean, the only reliable ranking that I think is the blind test one, where they just all try it and stuff. I mean, it's a popular conversation about like I've been saying Google search. Like I think for the first month in 20 years, average total search volume went down because people were replacing it with AI. Right? Personally, dude, I mean, like I am, infidelity is the word with me and models at the moment, man.
Okay.
These models can't pin me down right now, man. I'm kind of flirting with a couple at the same time. I'm a little bit with Claude, a little bit with ChatGPT, a little bit with Gemini. But no one is consistently better. That's kind of the odd thing about it. But I agree. I think they're all converging at one point. I think it's a bit of probably like a moot topic, really. I think like it's not really going to be a big driver for any meaningful value. Obviously, ChatGPT is the best for image. Like I think that's like goated right now.
Right.
But it's
Yeah,
interesting.
definitely. I also think there's another thing here, like okay, so they're benchmarks, right? Which are these like performance or eval tests that they run these models through, and they're usually like mathematics, and they're like some sort of standardized test from like some university thing that like is somehow not in the training set, whatever. But then there's actually like usability of the model and like how you feel. And ultimately that's what we care about, right? It's like how do we actually feel talking to one of these models? So I mean, I'm seeing here in the screenshot they sent over text, reasoning, image, and video. With text, like ChatGPT is crushing it, right? 35.8% of the entire audience prefers this, and they rank it compared to what 19.5% for Claude 3.7 Sonnet. It may be that Claude actually just crushes GPT-4o in a bunch of benchmarks, but it's like despite the fact that it's technically the more capable model, some sprinkling in of like the UX at the top of just like the way that it responds to you and stuff like that. That actually ends up having more people prefer ChatGPT, and obviously distribution and whatnot as well. But I think
Yeah,
that's important, right?
it is important. I want to feel a certain kind of way when I talk to my models. You know what I mean?
You
I
flirt
want
with
an
your models, right?
emotional,
Yeah.
I want an emotional connection. Dude, the thing my biggest ask is like good, effective voice AI. But what's interesting, I just sent the other interesting thing that came out with models actually is performance decreasing over time with conversations, which I thought was quite interesting. Anecdotally, I hear that a lot about how, I mean, we know there's context window, right? Think this, start to forget things. I thought that was quite interesting, how actually performance-wise, the more iterations you get with a model, the worse it becomes, which kind of suggests that you realistically want to be as clear about your intention as possible in the first go. Like you almost don't want to have this discoverability with your intention. So like you may find this as well. Like when you're like you just say 5 words because you're lazy, right? I'm just like speech texting whatever. But then actually by
Yeah.
the 5th iteration, then it goes in a direction, almost gets stuck. So that's my takeaway from this data. I wonder if I'll get our beautiful editor to throw up a graph of this. But like, yeah, performance seems to go down the more conversations you have, which is, I think, an interesting finding.
Yeah, the more back and forth you do, it makes sense. I mean, there's more context mathematically speaking. Its ability to remain accurate over time with all of this stuff as it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Like all they're doing at the end of the day, functionally, is just predicting the next token, right? So the more tokens you have ahead of time, the more stuff they have to calculate in order to do that. It's interesting you say this though. So I guess the tactical takeaway would be, maybe use some LLM back and forth for some sort of like discovery or whatever. But like once you have the thing that you want to do, then open up a new chat so you could knock that out, get the highest quality response with the new chat, essentially. There's like this meta thing that I'm doing with prompts sometimes. I'll give you an example. I'm writing up a big post on school communities, to drop in the school chat, school games chat or whatever, the schoolers community. So I was just driving, and I had like half an hour open, and I just started like dumping all of my thoughts, completely unstructured, into this model.
Yeah.
And so I think I was using GPT-4o or whatever. So then what I did is I took all the data, and I'm like, okay, great. So now just like here's the whole transcript. Now I want you to extract all of like the relevant and meaningful points, and then it extracted all the relevant and meaningful points. And then I just took that transcript and I pumped it into a fresh version of like GPT 4.5, which, you know, is a lot slower to write, and I can't just, you know, I can't do the voice chat with. But then I can generate higher quality text. So yeah, it's almost like a, you know, you're using one thread or whatever to like dump all your thoughts into it and just get things out, to capture information, to use a term borrowed from David Allen's Getting Things Done. And then you use another thread to like actually act on that information and do something with it.
Yeah, I quite like that philosophy, dude. You know, it's funny. So we talk about like hyper optimizing everything. Like I get frustrated if I'm like driving. I've got 20 minutes. Like I have to call, or like just I'm like this 20 minutes. I want to like maximize it. If I'm just like sat in the car, unless I'm like chilling out, right, listening to music. One interesting thing I've been thinking about like is top of funnel information. Like, I mean, this is like a fundamental concept. I think everyone like watching this is like an entrepreneur. They get after it. They often do this. Like if you're walking the dog or something, you're like usually stacking that with some other activity.
Yeah.
I've been thinking a lot about top of funnel information. Like if you have no new data coming in from sources you rely on, your world purview is quite static. Like it's like, how do you get those diversity of voices whilst at the same time being quite diligent with your time investment, right? Like it's also, you don't want a case of one-itis where like you actually only listen to an authority in a topic, because they're probably very helpful, but everyone's got limitations and sometimes different perspectives. You can get kernels of wisdom, especially by guys and gals that crush it. You know, you're just going to get different views and perspectives. So one of the things I'm thinking about in terms of systems, bro, is like, you know, making sure you get that good learning diversity and how you get the right balance between like what I would call like massive global stuff, like what's happening with the tariffs. But ultimately, that's not going to change my life, right? But it's good to be slightly aware. So it's like you kind of, again, I hate to say 80-20, but like I'd say like, yeah, roughly maybe 15%-ish is like total like world global stuff, but no more than 10-15% at all. The rest needs to be specific either to the field that you and I in or kind of tangential to that.
Yeah, it's interesting because like this is your consumption mix, right? It's your diet. It's
Yeah.
your consumption diet.
Digital diet, yeah.
Like your diet, you should be intentional about the information that you consume. So I like that. Like, yeah, as you mentioned, are tariffs meaningfully changing my life or your life? Probably not, because and also we're like in the digital space. So like, what, you're not. Nobody's taxing digital good yet.
Yeah.
Nobody's done it like me.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're you know, like I could see a future about that. But anyway, that shit doesn't actually like meaningfully impact my life at all. But it's still good for contextual relevance, and I think like understanding what's going on globally speaking does allow me to be slightly better at what I'm doing, slightly more relevant. I mean, there's some minor benefits as well. You remain more topical as a content creator and shit like that, right? But yeah, like being, you know, carefully curating your information diet, making sure that you also don't just like get all your information from like one source, right? Like I think we all have creators that we really like, and the vast majority of the time, you know, you're listening to probably like one of three or something. But I think it's important not to just have like one source that you're just mainlining constantly, because that person is subject, like we all are, to their own biases. So better to take two or three sources and just average out their beliefs on things.
Yeah, that's right. You're actually not, you're looking for their alignment, not their differences.
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of want to find the alignment. Yeah, dude, I've got into a bad habit when I'm working out at the moment, like a podcasting while I'm working out. And I'm like,
While you're
I have
working out?
guilt, Nick.
Oh,
I'm
my
like,
God.
I should be listening to some banging tunes right now, but I'm like double clicking into the podcast, man. So I need to make sure I'm having the raring time there, I think.
No, this is feel free to listen to the Nick and Jack podcast anytime, actually all the time. You should be going to bed listening to it. Make sure the video's on, you know, for advertising related reasons. That would be nice.
Absolutely.
Play it at
And actually,
0.5x speed as well, is usually a way to get even more information.
and if this isn't your third view, then I don't even want to. We don't even want to know your name. That's it.
It takes a while to really get the concepts. So, and actually open up multiple tabs simultaneously for even more information.
Play them all on different devices. I think this will be available in Spanish as well. So have the Spanish running through going on at the same time. That'd be fantastic. Do you actually, doesn't matter if you speak Spanish or not, right? Because we'll English subtitle it. So you'll be
Absolutely.
all right.
No, it's all about accessibility here.
Dude, that's one of our fundamental values, actually. So, dude, all right, cool. So we've got some LLM stuff. Like, should we zoom out? You said some cool stuff's happening with Amazon at the moment, right, bro?
Yeah. Okay, so you know, up until now, most of these like automation-related improvements to business productivity and whatnot, they've been digital, right? Because it's just so much easier to operate in like the software space than it is the hardware space. Well, Amazon recently dropped this development called Vulcan, which is their first robot with a sense of touch, which is really, really big. The same way that we have like sensor receptors on our fingers or whatever. we can feel the outlines of objects or whatnot. This robot has the ability to feel sort of the way that a package looks and so on and so forth. So they're saying that it's going to open up billions of opportunities related to like how they can further automate factory operations and whatnot. I think this is a great example of like, if something like this even results in like a 1% or 2% factory productivity improvement, we're talking millions of factory workers laid off immediately. And to be frank, like we're talking about like massive improvements in the bottom lines of the companies that are implementing stuff like that. So I think this is this is going to be one of the first major instances of like, well, I mean, Amazon already has robots, to be clear. Like, it's not like this is the first robot that they've made. But this tech is going to allow robots to do way more than just right now their static thing, where there's a little Roomba-like thing that goes underneath a factory thing, conveyor belt that's fed. Like this sort of real-world automation, I think is just going to be insane.
Dude, I love that because like I think that's the side of automation that like I don't go into too much detail, which is like the robotics side. But to be fair, it's interesting because it's already taken over many of the things that you do. Like especially in cultures where it's like totally normal to go and eat solo, like in Japan, you can actually walk into. I'm told I haven't validated this, but I'm told you can walk into a cafe, sit down, push buttons, food appears, you pay, and you can leave without speaking to a single human being. In McDonald's, which I will admit is not a restaurant I frequent these days. But when I did like my big plain double cheeseburger, man, I will be honest, dude, you don't talk to people anymore. You have like and I'm like, this is just like, I'll push the buttons. But when you go to the grocery store, man, it's the same thing. It's like 80% self-checkout. Invariably, you press one wrong button, you're in for a world of pain. You've got to start with your hand up like you're 5 years old. Someone's got to trot over and say, oh, you didn't. And it's a nightmare. But like, I say this to say, actually, like everywhere, there are robots that are already automating so many jobs away. That's just going to get faster and quicker at a pace that we probably aren't even thinking about.
I'm glad that you brought that up because I think there's some nuance there. Like all of the technologies that you discussed required a significant amount of capital investment. So they actually required us to redesign the companies and the environments to fit this flow, right?
Yeah.
I think the reason why implementing, and a lot of these are like procedural technologies. You don't need AI for them or whatever. But the reason why implementing like, let's say, touch in a model is touch in a robot is really cool is because then the robot becomes capable of interacting with like a static environment that you don't actually have to do a ton of capital investment in order to restructure. Like technically speaking, because these things are so intelligent now, they can have the sense of touch. You don't actually have to like totally redesign the factory or like fleet output to like to be basically like an assembly line. Like you don't actually have to build the self-checkout stand. It's like, oh no, this is like a generally capable robot that can go, it can touch, it can feel, it'll know how much, it'll learn how much pressure it needs to apply to different types of boxes just based off that. Like that's what I find pretty cool. The whole Optimus thing with Tesla? You've seen those things, right?
The Optimus bot. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're terrifying. They're very scary. They're the scariest things I've ever seen.
Dude, everyone can have an Optimus. Like, what do you think they're going to retail at? Like 30K or something?
Yeah, probably something like that. Probably like an entry level car or whatnot. You get one when you buy a Tesla would be a pretty cool setup.
It's funny that, isn't it? Like how we're conditioned as consumers. Like I don't know, it's like in Canada, but in UK, like a phone, like is the only thing that it's like traditional that you get on a monthly subscription. Like everything else you buy like a laptop outright, you buy everything outright. Phones, we pay for them over 24 months. And I don't know why that is. It's because I think of it's a complete conditioning thing. Where like, well, I mean, I used to know a gal that like some people on like, with like 17, 18,000 a year, and they had phones that were like 60, 70, bucks a month. And because you just get harped into, we want unlimited data. Nick, you want unlimited data. You're not a loser with a crap camera, are you, bro? You want a good camera, don't you, man? And they screw you over. So I think about this like consumer dynamics angle of like, how are they going to position it? Probably, I think cars like the closest thing, but it's a new category, isn't it? Like it's not quite a house, it's not a car, but it's in that like sphere. And if you had Optimus in your house, sorting the dishes out, I mean, there are at least 4 or 5 jobs. I mean, I can't wait till it can walk dogs. I'm going to send it to go and pick up coffees, bro. I'm going to set its humor setting to a 9 out of 10. It's going to be cracking jokes. It's going to be playing music where it goes, dude. It's going to be having a great time, dude. I'm going to send him little missions and quests. And then I think at some point, bro, it's just going to be robots. Like shops are going to be half robots. And there's going to be some guy who like said, man, I tanker for a time when there are robots in this coffee shop. And I'm like, dude, no, get some WD-40 on me while you're out there, bro,
That's depressing, but I could totally see it. I think that Detroit Becomes Human. It's a video game. You ever play it?
No, did no, I haven't actually.
Dude, incredible, but you're describing that exact like civilization right now, where
Okay,
like the
well,
robot technology just gets so good so quickly that like the world around it is static and it's like this, built for humans, but then they build the robots to be as similar to humans as possible, and then the vast majority of like people you see out and about going and interacting with stores and shops and whatnot, they're just like robots that are picking shit up for people. So it's like
really,
door dashing with your Optimus, right?
I love
Like,
that.
dude, monthly recurring subscription for your Optimus bot is crazy. I never
Can
thought
you
about
imagine that
that.
you miss payments? He just jobs just get slightly worse. Like the dishes aren't quite as good as they were before. Like what plan are we on? We're on the bronze plan. Oh my gosh, the dishes are only partially done now. Like god damn it! Like
Yeah, sorry, we've knocked you down to the starter plan. No more intimacy and love. Dude, I'm imagining like relationship sex bot thing.
yeah, it's like
Sorry, you only
she
get
gets
like this
less
starter plan now.
skillful.
We just
Like
starfish.
it gets less skill. That's all she can do. That's the only move, unless you go to the premium plan. That's it. I like the IQ just goes down as like the package plan drops. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like it's as dumb as a rock. Oh my goodness, dude. But I can see they're obviously going to have upfront cost, and then they're gonna crush you on a subscription, definitely. But dude, I'd pay for that. I think I'd buy. I don't know if would I get one the first batch. I'd probably wait to see if there's a robot uprising, bro. Give it a
Yeah,
few
yeah, me
months, and
too.
then
Me too.
but I think they're going to be big in security. I mean, did you see China had that like it's not even it's like an R2D2 but like a ball that rolls around like on a thing. It's part
Are
of
you
the police
serious?
force now.
They
Yeah.
have that now? No
Oh,
way.
dude, yeah. But once they become standard, I reckon there's going to be regulation to cap it. I think you can have one maximum. I think it's going to be tied to your like passport ID or something.
Yep.
Because can you
Yep.
imagine like some billionaires having like a squad of 8 robots, dude, like follow you around in a circle, and then just like
Yeah, well,
stop
it's
beefing on the
it's
street?
about personal power, right? Like, you get a robot, and then you use your robot to create an assembly plant that makes more robot. I mean, the power
Yeah.
dynamics of this shit are crazy. We're all gonna have our own little personal armies unless there's some level of regulation. Granted, like the government will have the personal armies too. But dude, how do you feel about this though? Okay, phones. Everybody like freaks out about the microphones always listening to us, right?
Yeah. I've
I
gotten a
feel
little
like
paranoid about that recently. Not paranoid, but like, yeah, I take my phone out of the room sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think the more money that you make and the bigger you get, like actually the higher the risk of stuff like this is. But like,
Yeah.
nobody really gives a shit about this, right? To be real, like we're now just so accustomed to it. Is that how it's
Yeah.
going to be with Optimus too, or like the future robots? Like when I think humanoid robots sitting in my room with a microphone, I'm like, oh no, I'm not going to talk about anything sensitive to that because I'm anthropomorphizing it. But like, isn't that what our phones do right now anyway? Like,
Dude, I'm just gonna. It depends if I see a red light flash on his head. Then I know it's time.
yeah, that's they just the helpful green light is on, so nothing bad could ever possibly happen.
Dude, I was funny. I did this meetup in LA, and one of the gals that was, she said she was consulting for Meta on the glasses, and one of the questions was, should it have a light on when it's recording? And like the people who wanted to like say like data privacy, no, there should be a red light on. And then why don't we get a white light? Because everyone knows red light means it's recording, right? So it is a big question, dude. Like it depends how much you trust the company, I think.
Dude, when I was in San Fran for this event hosted by Bolt, I met a real cool guy, Samin, and he was wearing Ray-Bans, and I don't know, like the Ray-Ban Meta sunglasses things.
Oh, were they recording?
I've like never seen anyone, but he was just wearing them, and I was like, wait a second, are those cameras? And I just like instantly like changed the way that I acted. So he was just like, no, I'm just screwing with you, bro. Like I'm not recording or anything. It's all good. Like there's a little light that turns on when I do, and I was just like, oh. So
Yeah,
it's
that
so weird to me.
was all for a joke. Yeah, like
But like think about it, like everybody's recording all the time anyway, Jack. Like we just don't our monkey brains just haven't caught up to that yet.
yeah, you just can't. Yeah, I mean, you just have to assume everything's been recorded everywhere you go.
Right.
We probably lose track of half the stuff we say in this recording. If you probably were forensic about it, you could probably piece together everything. If you actually stitched all of the content together. How was the Bolt thing, by the way? The Bolt
great.
guys like the like text to apps, like a lovable competitor.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great. It was great. Yeah. They took, I think, a really intentional and genuine approach to bringing a bunch of people together to potentially at some point in the future maybe talk about their software product. But it was really cool. Like I never felt like hurried. I never felt like anybody was pushing me to do anything. It was literally the way that I saw it was like, this is extraordinarily strategic. If I ran a big software company, this is exactly what I would do. I would literally just like wine and dine, give everybody a great time, and then I would be like, hey, here's a bunch of free shit. Goodbye. Have a lovely rest of the day. Because now, to be like entirely clear with you guys, like I know the team and I really like the team, and they're a bunch of really cool people, and they've like, we have a bunch of awesome memories together. Like I don't know the teams of all the other ones, right? So I'm just thinking, yeah, like it's interesting because I think the second you get into like these like oh okay, well now we've done this, so you have to do this. Obviously nobody's going to want to do it. Like we're creators, we have massive freaking egos. We're like, excuse me, like I do whatever the hell I want. But these guys approached it like super well. And yeah, man, it gave me so many ideas for just like cool ways to use Bolt in my own flow and then also in products and services that I sell too. So hats off to them. Totally cool. I'm looking forward to the next call I get on with the team.
That's cool, man. I think like these companies like have to lean into the creator economy. The ones that don't are going to struggle. Like, if you want a product to have adoption, you have to play ball with the AI creator economy. Like that, they pretty much drive purchasing decisions. I mean, like actually, well, let me ask this question: like, when was the last time you purchased any AI related product that you didn't hear from an AI creator somewhere?
Yeah, good point. When's the last time you organically discovered an AI product? I mean, like,
You don't. You just
no,
don't. It's all driven by creators. Yeah, it's all driven by creators. That's your
I never thought
distribution
about that.
channel. Well, it's funny. I mean, it made me laugh. Like David Ondrage had that like N8N video go viral. It did like I think it was like 1.2, 1.3 million views. And I said, David, what did they give you, man? Did they give you an N8N golden throne? I think he I think he said they sent him a coffee mug with an N8N logo on it. And I was like, actually, it might have been two coffee mugs. And I was like, that's
That's
really
one thing that I wish that the Make team took more seriously, their affiliate stuff. I think that they could grow significantly more if they were proactive about it. Honestly, me being in the creator shoes now, like, has really given me tons of insight into how I would approach like an influencer marketing or an affiliate marketing campaign.
yes, yes, definitely.
Yeah, so much
Well,
money on the table, I'd say.
you want to invest in creators, you want brand advocates, and like you kind of want to invest in people who are passionate about your product, not people who are not talking about your product. Like it's better to have like the creators that use your product and just say, dude, we want to like freaking supercharge you and like bring you on board and do all this cool stuff. Like it's this classic ROI consultant methodology, right? Where like everything needs a pounds and pence outcome, and that is one way to look at it. But like we know all the best value comes from brand and unquantifiable value and assets, right? And that doesn't appear on a balance sheet. Actually, investing in its creators in long-term relationships is key. And if you are an AI company wanting to crush it, you've got to engage with the creators in the economy. And like you say, wine and dine, take them on boat trips, get recorded with Ray-Ban glasses, I guess. Um,
It's
I mean, that's
not.
the blueprint.
It's not just about the money, though, right?
Is that required? I don't know.
No, but it's not just about, yeah, I agree. It's not just about the money. What I find interesting, there's so many non-material things that an average company can give to an influencer, or at least like try and incentivize with the influencer stuff. Like think about it. Like what is
Yes.
one, like what's the main value? Like why are so many people doing content creation anyway? For brand growth, right? And what
Yeah.
do most of these massive brands already have, to be honest? Like N8N and Make.com and Lovable and Bold and all these big companies. They have massive distribution. You don't need to give people money. Like a lot of the time, simply, I don't know, have some partner page on your website, or have some, I don't know, like get them in your newsletter or something. Like it's like all these non-material things companies don't really realize are extraordinarily valuable to creators, or pin their community as like our recommended community or something like that. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
So many
agree.
other things than just monetary that I think any sort of like creative affiliate marketer or influencer could probably produce millions upon millions of dollars for any one of these brands if they thought about it.
I completely agree. And I love N8N. I love the N8N team. I love the Make team. I do actually agree. Like even outside of the AI automation side, you're right. Like it's not people don't want money, but like it's like I say status is probably a driver unless it feels transactional. That's the thing.
Right,
That's where the
right. That's the
intentionality
thing.
of it is really key. Like you could do the campaign exactly the same, but if it's not an intentional, like we genuinely just want to give back to the ecosphere, it won't work properly. But again, dude, this is why all roads lead to community. Actually, ironically,
Interesting. I think that communities, now that you're bringing this up, are probably the most evolved version of like the brand slash info product funnel.
yeah,
I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. Like you said, all roads lead to it. I would agree. All roads lead to community. But I think like communities as a product are also like the logical extension of that. Where else are you going to get like the ability to educate, the ability to inform, the ability to like give somebody a sense of belonging, the ability to like improve their ability to, I don't know, like do deals and business on their own, resource libraries, templates,
yeah.
Q&As with like important people that you like, training, hands-on stuff. Like, yeah.
Yeah, and also there are second order and third order economies. Like what one of the beautiful things I see in the community is people doing deals with each other,
Mm,
partnering up, making cool stuff happen. Like some people getting their first customers and crushing it. And I think if you really take it to its logical conclusion, actually, like community is not just about, it's like education plus relationship. Like, and you can feel, I've given a couple of guest talks in a few places recently. You can feel like literally, I don't know, I can describe it, bro. Like where there's community and not community. Like it's like,
mm,
I was like, there's like a, I don't know, it's like an X factor thing. Like when it's like transactional versus you feel like I'm touching, I'm feeling, I can touch and feel Nick, I can touch and feel Jack. I feel the presence versus
questionable.
like you just kind of like you're running and yeah, it's an
Questionable.
interesting. Okay, well, okay, let's opine on this, right?
Sure.
What is the next level beyond that, beyond community? Like, is community actually just a function of like what's happening right now? Because that used to be what social media was. Social media right now is realistically just media. Because every subscriber doesn't turn up to every video. There's no real community. Well, there is in pockets, obviously, but it's not the same as like an actual community, right? So I wonder what the future of that looks like. I've got some thoughts. I think that community aspects are going to get stronger, especially because digitization is going up. So craving actual authentic connections is also going to go up, I think, in tandem with that. So I see them only getting stronger over time.
Yeah, man, I'm so glad you brought this up because this is a big conversation I was having with a bunch of the guys down in San Fran. I was like, can you get better than a community? Is a community the end of all information product stuff? I mean, like, nothing is ever like the perfect organism, so I don't see any reason why communities have to be. Some thoughts that I was throwing around was you talked about you basically making your own mini economy, right?
Yeah.
So taking a community and then adding some sort of marketplace aspect to it, I think would be really interesting. Where you actually, as a creator or of the community, you have access to distribution on both sides of the problem. You have access to the problem, the people that have the problems, and then you have access to people that can deliver the solutions. So you effectively, function right now. We do anyway. I don't know if you're doing this, but I function as like a place to bring those two together. But it's very inefficient. It's like, oh, somebody makes a post and they're like, oh, like, hey guys, like I'm hiring X, Y, and Z. I'm going to pay $5,000 a month. If you want to apply, do it over here. So we're using like these outdated methods of matching people and their needs, right? But like, an optimized version of that would be a marketplace essentially, where it's like, oh, I can vet and verify that Jack has gone through all of the training. He's super, super good at this stuff. Here's his post history. This guy's super ambitious. He's always providing value. He's basically the perfect candidate for your role. So I'm going to place Jack and maybe another 3 people with this person. And then, financially speaking, there's incentive for me because I've just made your life easier. I'm basically functioning as like a recruitment agent, to be honest. You get you're incentivized to do this because you get the better job, and then Jack's incentivized to do this because Jack also just has an easier time getting in front of these companies, and then we get to focus more on like meritocracy and like your actual skill as opposed to just like who you know and whatnot. So I was thinking about that. I mentioned that. I'm not entirely sure. I know some communities are already doing this. They have like their own little job boards and stuff like that. But having that functionality baked in at like the software level would be really, really cool. It'd be super cool.
Yeah, I've thought about this somewhat, and I think the next level is platform in some way, shape, or form. Like, for example, I was thinking about like the creative economy and how it all functions in the internet, and I was like, actually, if you just take a step back, think of all the platforms involved in the value delivery. One that we're all using is YouTube. Like YouTube, like just by existing and providing a platform for some service benefits from everyone creating content on it, right? And then you've got like maybe your own WAP or school or whatever it is. So this talent marketplace is an interesting one. When I played around with that thought, where I kind of landed was, if we connect the supply and demand together, right? The value we add in that equation is to some extent, and when I worked for one of the energy companies in the UK, before I quit it, was they had the exact same model, which is like my build, which is, hey, you need an expert to come and paint your walls or like do you go on. The value we're going to add is we're going to give them our stamp of approval, which means that we have vetted it. So you're essentially leveraging their trust. But fundamentally, the value add is the problem you're solving is get me someone I can trust with it. And I think that's a problem. But I kind of think that's probably not the bigger problem. I think probably the better play or like a different play would be like if you just had a larger agency with subdivisions for various different processes or whatever, almost ran like I think that's how you would truly scale it, is by having like a network of agents and consultants in it. So they almost get access to a workflow from you. I actually think one of the really cool business models, bro, is actually having where you can become the platform on which transactions happen, and you take a cut of all revenue. That could be 10, 15, 20, 30, 40%, whatever it is. And you provide legal services, contract creation, some kind of like platform that de-risks it for the agency and also the buyer. So the delta, the value you get is you get a cut of every deal, but you provide value to both sides, and it happens on the platform.
Yeah, I think that's tremendous. I think that they're okay. So just to be clear, you're talking about a couple different. Are we talking a couple different models there, like with the agency, with a bunch of subdivisions and stuff like that, where you are basically in effect hiring these people on almost as contractors to fulfill the needs of people that are right. So in that case, you're getting a much larger cut, obviously, because you are
Yeah.
taking some of the risk on as the agency. And then I think like the extension of that is that marketplace, like you're talking about there, the platform that also de-risks it, like has
Yeah.
the built-in legal, and then like because the volume is so much higher, then obviously like the individual cut is going to be lower, right? So instead of like you being like, oh, this is my agency, we're making 100% of the deals, and then I pay out to a contractor like 40%, then I carry with the variability and the risk or whatnot. So really, I'm profiting like 35% or something. Versus, hey, we're a platform, we have all these things in place, WAP style, you sign up, you do this, you do that. We look at all your post history or whatnot to like determine your stuff, and like we verify you, give you our certification or whatnot, and then we place you, and then we just take like 15% of the placement fee, essentially, like Upwork.
Yeah, they come under the brand, and we provide platform value and
That's
legal
cool.
support and insurance and we take all
Like
the risk.
arbitration and stuff like that. So like Upwork plus community, if I'm
Yeah, exactly. And it's like there's incentive for everyone to use it. The end consumer, and like the expectation would be that the agency coming on board also provides their lead flow to the table,
right.
but also they get lead flow from you.
Oh yeah, very true. That does sound mutually beneficial. I guess it's just it's a question of, I'm sure we're not the first people to have thought of this. I mean, I think both of us were probably playing around with a similar sort of idea a few months back, maybe when we started the whole community thing, but I don't think anybody's done it. And yeah, there's that big outstanding question of like, yeah, like the execution of that would probably be pretty tricky. But yeah, I could see that being like the ultimate conclusion. And then like I don't know, like a school plus or whatever would be the platform that facilitates the creation of these mini platforms, which is basically what WAP is trying to do. I think at like a larger scale with some sort of agency offering. Am I like conceptualizing this right?
Yeah, yeah, you are. But it's also
Okay.
interesting because like when you get high growth systems locked in, if we created this theoretical platform, ironically, the need for the individual agent decreases over time anyway, because the AI just gets so competent at doing it. I
Enjoys
do
that,
think
yeah.
there is a value in like there's definitely value you could drive there. So I think the next evolution would be platform, yeah, which it kind of
Yeah.
exists anyway in communities, doesn't it? But some software platform thing. But you would never get away from the human aspect. But that I think for us, Brett, it's probably just focusing. It's like launching this new crazy business, something. But I think there's probably something in that ballpark somewhere.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. That's cool, man. I'm glad we could wrap on that. I think that the highest ROI I've been able to generate has, as you mentioned, just focusing on the exact same thing over and over and over again for a very long period of time. So I'm not thinking about new cool software platform, big ideas, Ubers that I could drop or whatever. But yeah, it is interesting, I guess, just to spar through what the evolution of the community model would look like. Because way back in the day, I used to sell courses. Like way back in the day, they were really, really terrible courses. I put up a course on Udemy, and it was like how to market stuff on cold email or something. It was like the worst thing I've ever
That's
made in my
cool,
life,
man.
and I got like a few hundred people. I made like $17 off of it. But I was always thinking like, like I feel like there's so much on the table here. Like maybe instead of like why instead just do courses? Why not also do templates or like there's some Q&A board? But it's like like why not find a way to like build this into a more social thing where other people and I had all the I was thinking about it like way back in the day, my young entrepreneurial bootstrap $17 business. I obviously had no idea what the hell was going on. But I was thinking about it, and it sounds like communities are moving, they've moved in that aspect, and they've sort of aggregated all of those things. So that's the one outstanding thing for them to do. So if anybody at school or WAP or whatever, these other big community platforms are watching, Jack and I want 10% for the idea.
10%. 10%, that's it, royalties. I love that.
Oh, shit. So sorry. Jack would have pitched 20. I still figuring out my pricing.
Dude, that's it. But you know, we just came in with the lowest price possible and just stick there. Yeah, that's cool. Dude, I'm selling my house, man. We got an offer. And I was like, it was below asking price. And I said, the minimum we can take, the rock bottom is the asking price. And if that's above your budget, I completely appreciate it. But we cannot go below it. I swear, like, but there is something like, it is a good one to riff on in terms of negotiation. Is like, one thing that can never falter is like your perceived honesty, authenticity. The second that it's revealed you're playing a game, it's over, right? So you almost have to actually, which we would do anyway, but you need to be so honest about like I'm not going to do the whole go high, go low. Like, this is just a number. This is what it's worth. If you don't want to buy it, cool. There's whoever needs it least wins. And I'm like, we don't need the offer. It's cool. I will update this next week, how this bold offer went. But dude, I thought this was a really sick. Dude, we had a really sick first conversation, man. I think we're going to get more controversial as podcasts go on. We'll open up a round of dating tips next week. We'll crush it, man.
I'm looking forward to it, man. Yeah, dude, it's always a pleasure connecting with you, Jack. Looking forward to knocking out an awesome podcast series with you, my brother.
Yes, sir. All right, my beast man. Right, I'll catch you next week then, Chief.
Cheers.